I thought this was good to try this out and show you guys, just because at the moment I'm looking pretty, just not great. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you're new, then welcome to my channel, which is all about beauty. And today I'm going to be doing a tutorial which shows you how to cover up dark circles using color corrector. Now, I know color correcting can be a little bit daunting. I've had a lot of people say to me that they find it too complicated. They're not too sure which color to use and how to make sure that when they apply that orange or whatever color they use, how to kind of like get rid of that color, because although it may cover up things, sometimes it can be a little bit daunting when you look like you've been tangoed and you're like, great, now I've got to worry about covering this up. I get it, I totally get it. So I'm here to give you the most simplified tutorial on how to cover up dark circles using color corrector. Now, before we head into the video, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. You can also catch me on Instagram, where you can watch my stories for daily beauty news and PR unboxing. Now let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so here are my dark circles in all their glory, but I'm going to be honest, these are pretty bad at the moment. They're not usually this bad, but recently, over the last couple of weeks, I've not had enough sleep. I'm literally getting, I think, about 4 or 5 hours sleep a night. There's just a lot going on, and I feel a little bit drained, to be completely honest with you. And I haven't been cycling. Usually I cycle every morning. I haven't even had time for that. It's just been a really off kind of week. So I'm going to be honest with you. So these are kind of like showing how I feel right now. So we're going to do our best to kind of cover this up. My main thing is I really want you to kind of see how you can use the color corrector, because I feel like when a lot of people think of color corrector, they get really kind of stressed, and it's not something that is kind of readily available. I feel like, there are only certain brands that have color correctors. So the color corrector that I'm going to use is the Charlotte Tilbury color corrector in 3. It's called 3 Tan. I'm not too sure why it's called tan, because it's super orange, but we're going to use this, and I want to show you guys how I actually apply this onto the dark areas. Now, I'm not only going to apply this on my dark circles, I am going to also show you how you can use it on other areas of your face as well, but we're going to mainly focus on the dark circles, because as you can see, that's what's kind of standing out at the moment. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just get my product. Now, because it's almost like a creamy texture, which when you warm up, it kind of becomes a bit easier, to manipulate and like apply and blend. So you really want to make sure you warm it up a little bit. So I just usually kind of like swirl my finger into the palette. And now what I'm going to do is apply this over the areas which are really dark. Now, currently the only thing that I have on is my skincare and my primer, which is all over my face, and obviously my eye cream. So I swear by eye cream, I swear by all like skincare in general. So make sure you do put an eye cream on, because I feel like you just want that. Look, if you don't feel like you need an eye cream, at least think of it as a barrier between your skin and your makeup, because then you feel like there's something there, kind of almost, I wouldn't say it's protecting your skin, but there's something else there, as opposed to you just really putting it onto your, directly onto your skin. So that's why I have my eye cream on, because 1, it works for me, it helps with fine lines and wrinkles and just helps to hydrate the area, and 2, I feel like there's a barrier there. Every part of my skin has a barrier on top before I actually apply any makeup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this color corrector. Now, I want to explain to you the colors, because we've got a couple of different colors. I mainly swear by the green and the orange. I don't really use any other color correctors, because I feel like it's just too complicated, too many other colors. I mainly feel like if I've ever needed to use color corrector, green and orange are the only 2 colors I've really had to use, and they've always worked for me. If you are clever with your makeup as a pro makeup artist, then I would say 99% of the time won't actually need to use color corrector unless it's a severe issue. Now, although I feel like usually I wouldn't need color corrector, I can go straight in with concealer. I really want to show you guys how to apply it in case you yourself feel that that's going to work for you, or maybe you've got very severe dark circles. So either way, I want you guys to know, and I want to keep it really simple, because it can get quite complicated with so many colors, and I just want to keep it really simple for you guys. So we're only using orange today because green is basically the color that neutralizes redness. We're not dealing with redness today. We're just purely talking about dark circles, so any kind of pigmentation, dark areas on your skin, mainly the eye area. And that's where we're going to use orange because that helps to kind of brighten up that area. So I know you're probably thinking, well, what about different skin tones? Because I have a more tanned skin tone, and what about the lighter skin tones and the darker skin tones? Now, if you have very light skin or just paler than me, basically, then you want to opt for a peach color corrector. So can you see how that's still within that orange color zone, but it's just a lot lighter? That peach color corrector is going to be perfect for lighter skin tones because it's not too vibrant and bright, and you know, it's just the right kind of orange for that skin tone. If you have my skin tone or darker, then you can stick with the orange because that's really going to help with that darkness and really help to kind of brighten up those areas. Now let me explain why orange helps to lighten or brighten those areas. It helps with any darkness and hyperpigmentation because orange is the opposite color to that darkness. So for example, if you have that kind of veiny undertone or that kind of purple or bluish kind of darkness around the eye area, then that orange really helps to just cover up that area and brighten it up and just cancel out that blue and purple dark undertone. And it can actually help your concealer to work at its full potential as well. Now let's go in with this orange. I'm going to start dabbing it onto the darkness. As you can see, that's more or less all around this area here. So I'm just going to put a few dots here. Now I also get it here, so it's quite like dark around that area. And a few other areas that I'm going to apply it to is just here. I'm actually applying it to key areas which are slightly darker, maybe some blemishes that I can see that I feel like just needs like lightening up a little bit. So I think that's about it, to be honest. Just a bit there. Okay, now when it comes to blending it, you can either use your finger or you can use a brush. So I'm going to use a brush. I'm using the Hourglass, it's a concealer brush, like as in, it's not the flat concealer brush, it's like the blending concealer brush. I'll find out the exact name and put it up on the screen for you. Now, there's nothing on this brush. I'm just going to start buffing this into my skin. So all I'm doing is just kind of pressing it in, and you're going to see that I'm going to end up looking like I've been tangoed, but that's actually the aim right now. So we've got that kind of like nice even orange finish all over the eye there, and also here. Now, I know I've heard of some people kind of applying color corrector and then they blend it so much that you just can't see it. That's not the point. You need to be able to see that orange slightly, because don't forget, we're going to go over with our concealer or our foundation, and that will help to kind of lessen that orange finish and just give it that brightness and cover up all that darkness underneath. So I'm just pressing this in, so I'm just like dabbing, continuing to buff this into the skin. Now, I mentioned earlier that if you have paler skin, you can go for a peach color corrector. And if you have darker skin than me, then you can go for this orange shade. Now, if you have very dark skin, you can, some people go for like a red, which is obviously a lot more kind of, it's stronger than the orange. So that is an option too, depending on your skin color, to be honest. Like this one works well for me. I don't always do this, I'll be honest, very rarely, but I feel like I thought this was good to try this out and show you guys, just because at the moment I'm looking pretty, you know, just not great. Now, usually I would use my Shape Tape concealer because that for me is just amazing. It covers everything up. I want to use a lighter coverage concealer today because I really want you to see how this color corrector can help complement your, or just push your concealer a little bit more to give you that great coverage and just that nice flawless undertone. Whereas I feel like if I use my Tarte Shape Tape concealer, I'm just kind of like, I could have just skipped the color corrector. So I really want you guys to see how it looks with a much lighter coverage concealer. I'm using my Cover FX Power Play concealer in G Medium 2, and I'm just gonna like apply a small amount just here first. I want to do my eyelids first. And I'm going to buff that in. So I'm getting my sponge, which is damp. Now, a lot of you have been leaving comments about whether, like, is my sponge damp or dry? Most of the time, my sponge is damp. And when I say damp, it's really difficult for me to explain in response to comments, like when I'm typing it out, because it just becomes like a whole essay. Basically, when I say it's damp, what I mean is I've wet it so that the sponge doubles in size. I then squeeze all the water out as much as I can. Then I get a big, like a kitchen tissue roll, just a piece of kitchen tissue roll. And then I wrap it around the sponge and then I squeeze. And the reason for that, so I'm kind of like double squeezing because I want the tissue to absorb all of the excess water that may not have come out just from that first squeeze that I did. So that's how my sponge is. So it's kind of like almost dry, if you see what I mean, but it's not fully dry. So now I'm going to start buffing this in, and I'm literally just buffing this into the skin, so patting it constantly over the eyelids. Now, I'll be honest, I'm pretty excited about just seeing the results here because I haven't used colour corrector in a long time and my dark circles are horrendous right now. So, you know when you have that day where you feel like nothing can sort it out? There is nothing that can help you with these dark circles today because they just look bad and you've got to kind of like accept it. But sometimes what happens is, we've got to cover it up because maybe we are going out, maybe we've got an important meeting, and you really just don't want to look like you've just not had any sleep. Like, you want to look fresh. And usually, if I use my Cover FX concealer on its own, it gives me a nice, like, kind of medium coverage, but it's never really enough to cover that darkness. It's never really enough to cover up, like, severe blemishes or anything, because I always feel like it's kind of too fluid. Where you really have to kind of let it dry a lot first before you start blending it if you want that great coverage. So anyway, now you can see that's completely covered up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my powder. I'm going to use my Huda Beauty Easy Bake powder in banana bread, and all I'm doing is getting my powder puff and then I'm just kind of pressing it on here. And this is just going to set this for me. I'm literally pressing it there and then grabbing my Real Technique setting brush straight away and just pressing that excess powder into the skin. So this brush didn't have anything on it. I'm just kind of like making sure that all that powder is kind of like really nicely like sinking into the skin. Okay, and now we're going to do the under eye area. So I'm getting my concealer again, and guys, you see how much concealer I usually apply, right, on my videos. Like, I go full on, like, I don't know what that sound effect was there, but I go full on, like, I really do. I love that under eye coverage. I'm going to apply a lot less today. We're just going to go with this. I'm really tempted to just keep going, but, I want you guys to see how you really don't need that much when you're color correcting. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my beauty blender, and again, damp, exactly how I explained it a second ago. And we're going to start blending this in. So I'm just pressing, I'm not kind of gliding over at any point. I'm just pressing the concealer in, kind of buffing it into the skin. No joke, this concealer on its own would not have been able to cover up my dark circles that well, where I feel, and such a small amount in comparison to what I usually wear as well. So that's already kind of like really nicely brightened it up. That orange color corrector basically gives you the perfect base. So it just like cancels out all that darkness so that you're working on a much brighter undertone as opposed to a darker undertone. There you go. Literally, that is it. Okay, the rest of the places, I'm not going to apply my concealer because I want to go over with my foundation. That's all it's going to take. I don't need to go over with concealer and then go over foundation. So right now, I've shown you how we've kind of covered that up. I'm literally just going to go over with my foundation now and then set that. So I'm using my EX1 foundation in number 8, and I'm just taking my beauty blender. I've already put it on the back of my hand, the foundation, and I'm taking my beauty blender and I'm just going to start buffing this in. So you can see those areas where we've still got that orange color corrector, and I'm literally just going to go over with my foundation in a sec. Now that the foundation is on, you can see how, well, you can see how there's no darkness. So it's kind of like covered everything up, and I wanted to make sure I used a foundation and concealer where the coverage isn't great, because this foundation and concealer that I've used today, I would only use this if, say for example, my dark circles are not that bad, or I don't have many blemishes to cover, or I'm going for a really light coverage finish where, you know, everything doesn't really look that covered. So I wanted to use those kind of products so that you can see how the color correcting really helps those products to kind of just pushes them to give you that extra coverage as well. So now you can see how everything is kind of covered. We don't have the darkness in those areas, because if you've seen in my previous videos, sometimes I use a much lighter concealer on those areas where I find they're a little bit dark. You know, you can use a color corrector for those instead. You don't have to use that lighter concealer. That's just much easier for me sometimes, but I would only apply them in darker areas just to brighten it up. Whereas the color corrector is great for the kind of larger areas, but while you're doing that, you might as well just add it to the areas where you feel like it's a little bit dark or you've got that blemish there. So now that my foundation's done, I'll be back in a sec once I've set my foundation with my powder. Now hopefully you can see that color correcting really does help to eliminate that darkness on the skin, and I really hope that that kind of using much lighter coverage concealer and foundation has shown you how you can still get that really nice flawless look, and you don't have to worry if you get severe dark circles. So how did you find that tutorial? Let me know in the comment section below, and don't forget that all of the products that I used in this tutorial are listed in my description box below. So if you want to buy any of them, all you need to do is click on the links. Now, as always, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care, and I'll see you soon.